People who know me know that I don't really like doing videos. But there are some moments, like the one which has just happened in the last couple of days, which deserves a video. It is what is being called, what I call sometimes the Donald Trump moment in AI, or the Sputnik moment of AI, as A16Z's Anderson called it, or even the D.O.G.E, the D.O.G.E moment in AI, as Arvind Srinivas has called it. And this moment, for people who have been following AI, is the launch of this surprising, to say the least, astonishing AI model called Deepseek from a Chinese company, a company which actually did it as a side project. It's a hedge fund called High Fly by Liang Wenfeng, something which people knew and even know very less about. But it has shocked Silicon Valley, and it has kind of created, I mean, the DeepSeek model seems to be a model which has been created and has come out of the blue, created with just $5.6 million, as opposed to billions of dollars that OpenAI or Google has spent to create these models, less than 3% of the cost, and a performance which is on par and in certain cases superior to OpenAI's and Google's models. Now, a company called Scale AI actually created something called Humanity's Last Exam, which they've taken all subjects, history, physics, maths, etc., and taken PhD plus level questions on these and said that, look, if AI can solve this exam, then, it's stronger than humanity. It's more intelligent. Think of it as the new Turing test. And this model, created at less than 3% of costs, took just 2 months to create, created by young engineers out of Chinese universities as a side project, using NVIDIA chips, which are a couple of generations behind ones which OpenAI or Google are using, has actually scored higher or almost as high as ChatGPT or GPT-4o, GPT-4o 1, 2, 3 than in this exam. And so obviously this has kind of shocked people all over. And Silicon Valley is just agog with what this is happening. In fact, the stocks of some of the big AI firms and the chip firms have fallen between 3 to 4%. And Monday US time promises to be a bit of a bloodbath in how these stocks will fall just because of this one guided missile, if it may, from China. As I said, Mark Anderson has called it AI Sputnik moment. Satya Nadella has been kind of gushing over it. Mark Anderson, in fact, went further and said that it's one of the most amazing and impressive breakthroughs I've ever seen, and as open source, a profound gift to the world. And that is the other thing. This is completely open sourced. So DeepSeek has published a paper with the technical specifications. It's open source, it's free, anyone can take it and then use it as I have been using it, or start building stuff on it, as Perplexity has started, incorporating it in their search engine. And this open source thing basically also means that it could become like the foundation very quickly for all kind of innovations and apps being built on AI, and therefore become like the biggest model rather than ChatGPT, etc., which is building AI and AI innovation across the world. Now, how did they do it? Well, very frankly, I'm not competent enough to kind of read that paper and tell you exactly. But one of the things I gathered were two things. And one, as Arvind Srinivas, again, of Perplexity, said, that necessity is the mother of invention. Because they were starved of chips, starved of money, they had to do it with in a different way, in a way which, a company which has raised tens of billions of dollars or has tens of billions of dollars would not think about. The other thing is they've used a new technique, I believe, called distillation, where they have not trained the model and brought it off the World Wide Web as OpenAI or others have done, but trained the model on the frontier models or foundation models like ChatGPT, which have already been built. And that, I believe, makes the process much, much more efficient. In fact, sometimes if you ask DeepSeek, who are you? I believe that often it gives the answers that I'm ChatGPT. Now, some would call this copying, as Sam Altman has, but not necessarily so. Again, as Srinivas points out, the transformer was actually built by Google in Google's labs, and OpenAI, quote unquote, copied it. Similarly, BERT and other large language models were created at Google, and OpenAI productized. This is how science works. You have an innovation, you write a paper on it, as the Deepseek guys have written, and someone else builds on it. But what it does, it changes the game. It kind of changes the game for AI, if everything coming out is true. And how? Well, first of all, the cost and talent myths have been broken. It was always said that you need these latest NVIDIA chips, which cost billions of dollars of compute. And there are just hundreds super tech pros in the world, around 100 who can actually create these models. Well, $5.6 million, older chips, and university graduates. And so what that means is that now many, many more people can create these models. And so that's number two, that possibly, we are seeing the democratization of AI, where instead of just 3 or 4 big companies creating these super powerful big models, there'll be hundreds and thousands or hundreds and thousands of companies creating, models with $5-6 million or possibly lesser. And that means these models could actually sit on devices like a single NVIDIA kind of a computer, rather than sitting on the cloud, which the 2 or 3 big guys own. And this would mean that now suddenly AI is kind of democratized. It would also mean, very worryingly for the US, that the US hegemony on AI could possibly be shattered. The US has actually put embargoes and restrictions on what kind of AI chips, etc., China can buy, and therefore try to curtail their AI development and widen the gap between US's AI expertise and the rest of the world, especially China's. Well, that doesn't seem to be true any longer. And so the hegemony or the competitive advantage that the US has goes away. And as I said earlier, the Chinese models become the kind of the bedrock or the foundation of AI rather than ChatGPT, etc., etc. So what does this mean for India? Interesting. I think while the West is worried, India should be elated. We should be happy. Basically, the whole question which is being asked, that whether India should create an LLM with Indian context, Indian languages, and its own Bharat LLM frontier model or not. Well, the question doesn't make sense any longer. It's moot. If it's going to cost this much money, this less money rather, and older chips, and we have lots and lots of very innovative talent, then it's not just one. We can create hundreds, if not thousands or more, of large language models in India itself, which are suited for different use cases, but suited for Indian use cases, Indian problems, Indian context, Indian language. And so I think the National AI Mission would need to relook at what it is trying to do, and so would possibly Mr. Nandan Nilekani. Well, there are always doubts. Anything which comes out of China, there are always doubts that, look, is it real or not? Is there some obfuscation happening? Is it just a copycat? Well, I've already answered the copycat bit, but the obfuscation bit, DeepSeek has not just created a model or a series of models. In fact, they've created 6-7 different models, including possibly a reasoning model. And they've published a very detailed technical paper, very few of which are published in the US now because they fear that China would copy it. And they've kind of published this paper, made it transparent, so it actually looks real. The other worry is that would its results reflect the Chinese Communist Party's restriction of the kind of information that it would give? And that's true. I mean, someone who did try and ask about Taiwan or the Dalai Lama in DeepSeek, DeepSeek actually went that way to try to answer. It talked about some Chinese government oppression or something, but immediately retracted, immediately, and said that this question was beyond its scope. But in conclusion, I think this is a huge, huge development in AI. Frankly, the whole big $500 billion Stargate announcement just a day before by Trump and Masa Son and Larry Ellison and Sam Altman suddenly looks a little silly and outdated. Because why do you need that kind of money if, if something like this, what Deepseek has done, is possible? And that's why I call it a Trumpian movement of AI. The president of the United States, whether you like him or not, is frankly ignoring current norms and destroying years of structural efforts and order and the way things were done. And so could DeepSeek. In fact, it's the DOG, the Department of Governmental Efficiency, the Musk department of AI. It has kind of taken billions of dollars of, the assumption that something needs billions of dollars to millions of dollars. Whether it turns out well for the world of AI or not is anyone's guess. But there's a palpable sense of excitement, worry, even panic in the world of AI. And it'll be very interesting to see how the next week unfolds. So here's the end of my video. Oh, by the way, I would love to, hear more about this, hear your comments, because it's just so exciting. And obviously there's so much more to know. So I would love to learn from you and, also learn as to what have you experienced if you have tried this model. In fact, at AI&Beyond and our labs, we have already started kind of experimenting with this. And soon my co-founder Anuj or I would post more stuff on this and more videos on this to tell you, how this model is upending the AI world.